In the new season of Gumball, we've noticed the constant presence of a character who, in previous seasons, was already marked as one of the most sinister in all of Elmore, Daisy. The Wattersons even went to Daisy's donkey park before it closed, just to fulfill Anais's dream. Maybe you don't remember, just like Anais herself, but this little donkey has a cruel nature and a life of her own, basically making her a kind of Chucky 2.0 in the world of Gumball. But have you ever wondered, why is she so cruel and mean to little Anais? Or how did a simple ragdoll come to life in the first place? Daisy and Anais. To refresh your memory, let's go back to the episode Elmore Dreams. We see what at first seems like Anais's nightmare, where Daisy turns her into a ragdoll and commits all sorts of atrocities against her owner. But then we discover that this was actually Daisy's own dream, showing not only that she has a life of her own, but also dreams like any regular person, which is already super weird. Before we try to solve Daisy's strange visions, we need to take a step back and better understand the bond between Anais and her favorite doll. Anyone who's watched the show knows that the relationship between Gumball's little sister and Daisy was nothing but pure affection. Anais never let Daisy out of her sight, carrying the doll almost everywhere in town as if she were an extension of herself. But at some point in the story, that atmosphere of love and friendship started to crack. What was once just companionship became something much darker, and the doll stopped being just a plush friend. So the big question is, did Daisy already hide sinister thoughts from the beginning, even when she seemed sweet and innocent? Or did some turning point trigger this creepy transformation? And that's where one of the biggest controversies in the show's timeline pops up. When exactly did Anais meet the Daisy she has today? In the episode The World from Season 2, we see the moment when Nicole and Richard give Daisy to their youngest daughter as a present. Everything makes it seem like that was the first time Anais and Daisy met. But hold on. That's not entirely true, and we've got proof to back it up. In Season 6, in an episode called The Rival released years later, Anais shows up as a baby still in her crib, scribbling some creepy little drawings and even plotting the end of her two brothers. And guess who was there in the corner of the scene? That's right, Daisy herself. This happened way before Anais even took her first steps, which means long before officially getting the doll as a birthday gift. So what does this mean? That their relationship started way earlier than anyone thought, at least with the first Daisy. First, because there's a big chance there's more than one Daisy roaming around the world, as we'll explain now. Stick with us, because we're about to blow your mind again. Daisy's backstory. To kick off this investigation, we've got to point out something not everyone has noticed. There's not just one Daisy in Elmore. The little donkey is so famous she even has her own super popular TV show, which by the way is Anais's favorite. And it doesn't stop there. The doll is so popular that it even got its own cereal, the Daisy Flakes, which are shown in several episodes and are the favorites not only of Anais, but also of Gumball and Darwin. On top of that, the little donkey even has her own ice skating show called Daisy on Ice, which looks a lot like a Frozen-style performance. So it's pretty clear that there are thousands of Daisies around the world, not just one unique doll. Everything suggests that Anais has had at least two versions of the toy. And here's the big question. Which one was the doll that showed up in the episode The Night, having that bizarre dream with Anais? A lot of people get confused, but the truth is that the Daisy who dreamed of Anais being tortured was the first doll she ever had. No doubt about it. But what could have possibly made Daisy feel something so twisted and creepy toward her own owner? The answer is probably because there are two Daisies. To really get how this doll turned so dark, we need to go back to the beginning, when what we call the first Daisy appeared in Anais's life. Different from what many think, at first the little donkey wasn't creepy at all. Quite the opposite. She was like a best friend. And Anais truly loved sleeping and playing with her around. The problem is that at some point, Daisy revealed she wasn't just a simple toy. Just like in the Toy Story universe, it seems like the doll had always had a life of her own. Or maybe she developed a kind of consciousness after spending so much time with the youngest Watterson. That bond between them grew so strong that one day at the park, Anais, without even thinking, declared that Daisy was her best friend forever. That part was fine, but the big shock came when the plush donkey moved her head in a creepy way and answered that Anais was her best friend forever too. Instead of being happy, Anais totally freaked out. The scare was so intense that the little bunny tossed the doll in the air, kicked her away, and ran off, abandoning her faithful companion for good. The impression Anais was left with was that Daisy was possessed by some kind of evil spirit, or that there was something seriously wrong with that friendship. From that moment on, she never came back to get the doll, leaving her behind, discarded in the world, as if she didn't matter anymore. After days, maybe even months of waiting in vain, the first Daisy finally realized Anais was never coming back, and that's when her sentient toy mind snapped for good. She stopped pretending to be just a lifeless plush and somehow found her way back to the Wattersons' house. Probably at night, through the dark streets of Elmore, the doll followed her path until she got home again. But the scene she found when she peeked through the window was the last straw. Anais was cuddled up with a brand new Daisy, bought by her parents during the time she was gone, just like what happened with Lotso in Toy Story. This might have been the exact moment when the evil started to truly take over the sweet little donkey doll. The fury consumed the rejected doll, And it was right then that she decided to get rid of her replacement, reclaiming her spot by Anais' side. From that day on, the original Daisy returned to the girl's bed and never left again, sleeping next to her every night and holding on to her grudge. Now all she does is wait and plan the perfect moment to take revenge on her former best friend. There's another possibility we'll get into, but before that, go ahead and hit the subscribe button right now. The origin of evil. There's another theory that claims there aren't two Daisies at all, but just one. And at some point, she stopped being just a simple ragdoll, gained a life of her own, and turned into an evil being. The truth is that there's a likely reason behind all this that many people haven't noticed: the day Anais came into the world. In the episode The Rival, we see that the youngest Watterson, for some unexplained reason, was born with a completely cruel nature, where she constantly made plans to get rid of her brothers, even going so far as to set up bomb attacks in their toy cars. The reason: she wanted to be the only one in her parents' lives without competition. However, when Anais realized that her brothers loved her, she finally changed, and apparently the evil left the little girl, turning her into someone sweet. Now here's a very important detail. In the episode The Flower, we discover that jealousy is actually a living entity in this world, so much so that Gumball had to be exorcised of this evil feeling, and that was exactly the feeling Anais had toward her brothers, and it just vanished. But what if, instead of disappearing, it had actually just left Anais and entered the little doll, the toy she always spent the most time with? That's definitely a strong possibility. From the looks of it, for a long time that evil entity stayed dormant inside the doll. What really woke it up was Anais kicking it away and abandoning it, which completely destroyed any last trace of affection the donkey still held. That's why today the first Daisy, possessed by the spirit of jealousy, became a being filled with bitterness and vengeance. And many fans believe that if there's another season of Gumball, one episode will show exactly this dark comeback of the doll. And Anais, she has no clue about the danger sleeping next to her every night. She doesn't realize that her cute little doll is planning something terrifying for a not-so-distant future: Daisy's sufferings. But beyond this possible transfer of an evil entity, we also need to understand everything Daisy went through while being Anais' favorite toy. And trust me, it wasn't just a little. The doll faced situations that probably no other toy ever had to endure. One shocking example was when Tobias threw Daisy out of a moving bus. And the worst part? Gumball was right there and didn't lift a finger to stop it or get the doll back. He just let the donkey fall as if it were nothing. Only after Anais confronted him did he finally go after the plush, which ended up in Tina's hands. And even worse, it went through Hector's butt. And it didn't stop there. In another episode, Gumball and Darwin got so hooked on eating Daisy Flakes cereal that the sugar made them completely nuts. In the middle of the chaos, they ended up ripping the first Daisy apart by accident, like it was just another disposable object. There was also the time Anais herself used the doll in a totally heartless way. She opened Daisy's seams to stuff the family's remote control inside it. After getting what she wanted, the little bunny just left the donkey lying on the table, all torn up, while she chilled watching Daisy's show on TV. All these moments were deeply etched into Daisy's memory, and that's exactly why, in her twisted dreams, she relives distorted versions of those horrible experiences. Daisy wants revenge. Now we get to the main point. Where does all that rage come from? Besides being cruelly abandoned by Anais, which by itself would be enough to build eternal resentment, Daisy also carries all those traumatic experiences she endured as the youngest Watterson's toy. In the doll's mind, being Anais' friend meant she had to put up with anything without complaining. But when she realized that even after all that, she was kicked and left alone in an empty park, her frustration turned into pure hatred, and this hatred shows up clearly in her dreams. Like when Daisy imagines a plush version of Anais being dragged by a car, exactly like what happened when she herself fell off the school bus. Or when she dreams about pulling Anais' doll until it rips in half, recalling what Gumball and Darwin did when they damaged her by accident. Another creepy detail is when the donkey tries to feed Anais' doll version, just like the little bunny used to play with her when they were inseparable friends. All this shows that, in Daisy's twisted mind, every game and every accident turned into scars of abuse. And from her point of view, the one responsible for all of it is Anais herself. After all, if it weren't for her, no sibling or classmate would have ever put the doll through so many humiliating and painful situations. We're wrapping up here, and we've picked out 2 awesome videos on your screen, and I'm sure you're really going to enjoy them. Just pick one and click right now. Thanks so much for sticking with us till the end, and see you next time.